Welcome to the Berea Podcast. This is Troy with another solo show. Dell is not here, but I do have a guest in the studio. Guest, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, Troy. My name is Cheyenne Olson, and I am the Executive Director of Sustainable Berea, and I'm delighted to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you. Let me tell you why. Last June 2018, was down at the Urban Farm for a graduation of sorts. There were 4 women that had just completed the Harvesting Hope program. Since then, I've learned more about the Harvesting Hope, and I wanted to have you in here and share your enthusiasm and the thoughtfulness of this program that's right out here in Berea, where other communities have already said, we want to emulate what you're doing in Berea. So that's why you're here. In June, one of the most impactful things at that recognition ceremony is one of the 4 women that were in front, recognized for their contribution and their efforts, said, this is the first thing in my life I've ever completed. And that was really powerful because this was a near middle-aged woman who had, really suggested that her life before that point was in a shambles, was struggling, and that Harvesting Hope had helped her. So I want you to tell us a little bit in a nutshell of what Harvesting Hope is, and then I want to really drill into the problem that's here in Berea and Madison County and Kentucky at large that you're seeking to address. So go ahead.
Yes, it definitely is an issue that needs to be addressed. And people think that drug addicts are just worthless people that should be locked away and never acknowledged, and that is not the truth. There are many, many, many addicts who were introduced to opioids through their parents giving them pills when they were children or teenagers. They might have had surgery and been given Oxycontin or some other kind of painkiller, and they became immediately hooked. And so, we have a whole generation of people now that we're looking at the 3rd generation of people who are coming to opioid addiction through pain pills. So that is a real problem.
Okay. What about numbers? You said you brought some numbers of real, impacts of deaths, not just addictions, but actual deaths.
Yes, the Madison County numbers are pretty shocking. In 2016, we had 33 drug-related deaths in Madison County. In 2017, we had 40 drug-related deaths. And so far this year, in the first 6 months of the year, we've had 23. So if you multiply that by 2, that gives you 46. So we're on the way to having more deaths this year than we had the previous 2 years. That's kind of frightening, very frightening.
Yes. And what about in Kentucky? Do you know those numbers?
I do have the numbers in Kentucky. You
came prepared.
Yes, I have all kinds of numbers. There were 1,565 fatal overdoses last year in the state of Kentucky. That's a lot, Troy.
Right. Tell us about Harvesting Hope. That's where it began and what's going on here in Berea.
Yeah. Well, they say when an alcoholic or an addict takes a drink or a hit, 10 people are immediately automatically affected. So if we can get one person to stay sober, then that person can help 2 other people, and they can help 4 other people, and it grows geometrically. So what we are trying to do with Harvesting Hope is we are taking 4 women who are alcoholics or opioid addicts, the majority of them are opioid addicts, and putting them through what we call a job training program. So we have selected women who are living in the Liberty Place Recovery Center for Women in Richmond, because we do not want to be responsible for the treatment from opioid addiction. We want to add on to what they're learning in the treatment center and help them be successful in the job market. We know from the research that the most important thing for a woman when she gets out of treatment is to be able to land significant, meaningful work. And that's very hard to do. If you have no experience, if you don't know how to do a resume, you don't know how to interview, you've never had a job before that you've been successful at, or maybe you've never had a job at all, full stop, So, and you're a felon and you have a record. So there's a lot of strikes against you. And what we do with the program is we expose them to a lot of different skill building things that they need in order to feel confident to go into the job market. And we also teach people about entrepreneurial thinking and the local economy and how they can fit into a local community and perhaps arrange their own form of employment through, maybe turning their kitchen into a certified kitchen where they can, make things or bake things and sell them. So there's just a whole array of skills and things that are taught in the class.
What I hear, and put it into my perspective, like, with parenting, what I know is there's start behaviors and there's stop behaviors. And a lot of, treatment is about the stopping behavior, stopping of addiction. And what you're just describing is you're trying to at least open their eyes to start behaviors, things that, they can fill up the void that, there's going to be in their lives after they stop using the drugs, right?
Absolutely. And you're talking about the slogans and phrases from that first group that finished in June. One of the women said, "I have absolutely no idea how to succeed at anything." So the people who are working on the teams to build the curriculum, and it's not just my curriculum, we've got sociologists and therapists and people from the New Opportunity School and people from the college and people from EKU. We have a lot of people that are working on the curriculum, but we took that phrase, I have no idea what to do to succeed at anything, and thought, okay, what do people need to know? All right. And how can we teach the things that people need to know in a concentrated time? We have 4 weeks for each one of these classes. We'll have 7 classes throughout the calendar year, and they'll have 4 women in each class. So it's compressed, it's compacted, and Liberty Place has been good enough to let us have the women for 6 to 8 hours a day. So we're doing field trips to look at people out of town who are doing things that we want the women to know about, as well as doing a lot of things in Berea. So it's a community effort building this curriculum, and we're very excited because in the next class, which starts in September, we will be able to build a couple of high tunnels that are going on the farm. So all kinds of things that the community is doing to involve themselves in the program makes it really fun and worthwhile.
So tell us about some of those partners. Let's review. So what is Liberty Place, and where is it, and what do they do, and what's their step in the process? Let's talk for partners.
Start with Liberty Place. Yeah, Liberty Place is our number one partner. We have a joint partnership with them. They've been around for about 10 years, and they treat women who come to them primarily through the Department of Corrections, DOC.
Okay.
They're usually on probation or parole. Some of them are Casey lawed, which means that their parents have taken them to court and said that if they don't go to treatment, they have to go to jail, and the judge works with them on that. It's called Casey's Law. So the women generally arrive at Liberty Place not really wanting to be there and not really thinking that they need to be there. So they go through a very rigorous, strenuous program that addresses what the disease of alcoholism or drug addiction looks like, what it is, how it manifests. And then they have a program called Recovery Dynamics, which the women work. And so the program is now 6 months, but it usually goes more like 9 or 10, sometimes 11 or 12 months, depending on what the client needs.
Cheyenne, so you said that most of these, if not in this program, would be in jail or prison. You told me a few nights ago that there's a cost difference to have someone in prison as compared to this program. What's the cost difference?
No, it's huge. It's very large. I believe the cost to keep someone incarcerated is close to $300 to $400 a day, and to keep someone in Liberty Place is less than $100 a day. So that's a big difference.
Per day.
per day.
And hopefully that, they'll learn, some other behaviors other than, just feeding their addiction, the purpose of that. You brought, so that's Liberty Place. You mentioned also that New Opportunity School for Women is one of the partners. In this last group that are in the cohort right now, in the group that you're working with, what did New Opportunity School for Women do for them?
That was very exciting. They started their program on a Sunday with the New Opportunity School for Women, and they went through a 2.5-day intensive immersion, they call it, and they stayed in a hotel at night here in Berea so that they could concentrate and focus and not be distracted. And they went through all kinds of things. I'm not even sure all of the things that they did. And, they did everything from, learning to write letters to the people that are important to you and write letters to the people who have harmed you, and their creative forces of learning how to build trust, learning how to work in teams. They did a personality inventory to try to understand more about what their personality looks like and how it operates. So they were very, very excited. They just thought it was the greatest thing, and they came away saying, gosh, I really feel like a new person. So something must have happened that was really good.
Great. So that was at the start. What did you do today? Tell everybody what you
Yes,
where you
today
took
we went to Bobtown Arts with Vicki and Clarence Hayes, and the women worked with clay, and they made coffee cups and little animals and bowls and all kinds of things. They got very creative. Everybody was really amazed at how well they did, and for the first time playing with clay. And then there were a couple of people there at Bobtown Arts who taught them to do some dancing, some local traditional dancing. And then we had this fabulous meal that most of it came from the garden. And then we sat around on the porch and talked, and then they left there and they said, well, we don't really want to go back.
Very good.
It's been a full day.
You have your schedule in front of you. So tell everyone the schedule that you said this is a 4-week program, and we've just talked about 2. Just list off some of the things that they would be going through with this program.
Okay. We are going to have a meeting, an hour-long meeting with May Cermak to talk about social enterprise in her business. We're going to talk with Katie Startzman, who has done a startup of several businesses, and including the one that she has now, the Native Bagel Company. We're going to take a field trip and go to Lexington, and we're going to spend some time with the women's homeless shelter that's way out in the country. It's a secluded place, so the women can be kept privately and secure from people that would like to abuse them. And they have a garden and a flower operation there where they make about $40,000 a year selling flowers to people in Lexington. So
and what's the name of that program?
That is called, it's called Greenhouse 17.
Okay.
Yeah. They have a $2.5 million budget. I'm very jealous. And it's a beautiful facility, and they do really good work. So I'm pleased that we're going to be able to spend some time with them. Then we take and we're going to go to Deviate, which is a restaurant in Lexington that was just in the New York Times about 2 weeks ago. An article about Rob Perez and his wife. Deviate is a restaurant that hires 18 out of its 20 employees are addicts. And so there's a whole, and I know Rob, and I'm really crazy about him, and he's going to give us a really nice program. So we're looking forward to that. Then we're going to run down to London and see Wayne Riley and his wife. They have an urban farm and a certified kitchen, and they have a program where they take men from the jail and do a work release to try to get them employed so that they don't have to go back to jail because they can't pay child support. So, and he's been around for a long time and has all kinds of things going on with the community development, local development. One of the things that we're trying to do with the women through this curriculum is teach them about how important it is to give to your local community. we're using the buy local, be local, think local, work local slogan because I just love that. I think it's really good. Rather than going to a factory to get a job when you get out of treatment, let's look at how you can go to your community and be a part of the community and add to the community and function differently in your life than you did before. So anything that we can do, any people we can expose people to that can help them with their thinking local and being local is something that we're after. So, and then we have some meetings with people who work for nonprofits because I think it's important for people to understand nonprofits and how they work and how you can be involved with them. And we go to Bauman's Farm, the Lazy 8 Farm. The women in the last class loved that. They loved being on the farm and picking snow peas. So we're going to go back and do whatever the Baumans want us to do again in this one. And I think that's, of course, Bobtown Arts will do that again next with all the classes. So I think that's about all I can see right here. Oh, and then work on the farm, of course, work on the Berea Urban Farm. We will pay the women to work on the farm so that when they graduate from their 4-week program, they will be given a stipend that reflects the amount of work that they did. And they will be able to take that money and immediately start paying off some debts that might be the kind of debts that would land them back in jail if they didn't have any money. So we're pretty excited about that.
And they have work skill. And I want to go touchy-feely just for a second, though, but it's an opportunity, much like she said, she had never completed anything before, but there's something about, you put a seed in or you put a plant in and it grows and it produces something. You do have a measure of pride, and I was able to do that. And that really feeds a population that there are not many occasions for pride in their work. And so they get a sense of accomplishment. And then what we just presented, that there's also some coursework about self-confidence. And then there's an opportunity for people to think about, well, I could be a business owner. I could do exactly what I'm doing now, raising these things and sell the flowers like they're doing up in Lexington, or just, work at the, work, and that's something really positive and really at the grassroots level of I can do this just right now. So that's the switch. And then, the financial incentive of this is going to help me immediately. I think it's just a win-win-win. Yeah. How did you come up with this idea?
Well, we were at the Brushy Fork Institute last year, and some people challenged the audience to come up with solutions to the opioid epidemic. They said that if communities did not come up with creative, innovative solutions to address the crisis, that it's only going to get worse, and that the communities must be the ones. They said government can't do it, the police can't do it, the medical professions can't do it. The people have to figure out how to address the issues, address the opioid crisis. So I started thinking, well, we have a farm, and I know what can happen when people farm and when they get connected to the earth. There's a spiritual experience that happens there, and people can watch things grow and feel good about that, and then eat the food that they grow and share that with other people. So food seems to me always to be something that's not political. Everybody eats. So we need to do that. So I thought, well, we have an urban farm, and it's designed to be a part of the community, a part of the lives of the people in the community. And we have a treatment center that is addressing opioid addiction. So those are two of the big pieces that we need. We put them together, and here we go.
Sure. Okay, so you've mentioned these partners that are helping you, by name. Also, though, there's the program itself has sparked interest in funders. So you told me that the USDA gave you a grant. Tell a little bit about that.
Actually, the USDA came to us and wanted to know what we were doing because they saw an article in the newspaper where several people, primarily from out of state, but a couple from local, had given us a little bit of money to start what we called a pilot program. And that made the newspaper because we were saying we're going to do this. We're going to raise the money. We're going to try this. So the USDA sent somebody to talk to us, and they said, you really ought to apply for this grant. It's only 4 weeks away, but, and I just thought, there's no way. Then somebody else from the USDA called, and they said, we're going to be in town. We'd like to talk to you while we're there and see how you're coming with that grant application. I went, oh, dear.
Because you're a grant writer, right?
Yeah, but USDA grants or something else. At least for me, I tell you, I thought there's no. So then people just started coming out of the woodwork. I mean, it was just obviously something that I think that was supposed to happen because somebody came who was a retired sociology professor, and she said, I know how to do these budgets. And then somebody else came to the house and they said, you need to fill this paper out. Do you know about this one? Sign this. Put your name here. Do this. So on the last day that the grants were available to be turned in, I drove to Lexington and dropped this document on their desk. And we got the grant.
And so it was $6, $10?
Yeah.
How big was it?
The grant was for $100,000, which we asked for $100,000. We only got 93.
Only 93,000.
Yeah, and we have to come up with 27,000 of our own because the whole project is 117,000.
That is super. But as you said, even before this grant came in, there were other donations for the program. So
yes, and it's been amazing, Troy. People say, what a great idea. My daughter or my grandmother or my friend or, it just seems like I had no idea how many people have been affected by the opioid crisis.
I think something else interesting that you told me about is that the vision isn't just taking care of these 4 people at a time. There's some measurements in place, so you're going to see how productive they are and then how it can be replicated in other areas.
Yes. The evaluation and assessment of the programs is way over the top. It's
over the top.
Yeah. We have a professor from EKU and the retired sociology professor that are working on measurements that do a baseline and then after the 4 weeks do another assessment to see if there's been movement through personality movement, determination, skills, etc. And then we evaluate the class and the instructors. And the first pilot we had, there were some instructors that went off the scene because they weren't as powerful as others. Plus, we condensed the program to 4 weeks. So, yeah, we want to be able to say to people at the end of the program, this is how much money you need. This is what needs to happen. These are the tools that you can use. This is the assessment you can use. Here's the evaluation. Here's the schedule for the classes that we've used. You can adapt this. So we will provide a packet that can be distributed to other communities. And I've already had 3 people say, we want to do that, and I'm going, wait a minute, let's...
Evaluation still need to...
Let's see how it works so that we can, tell you. Plus, there's a professor at Berea College, Mario Nakazawa, who has a class, and they're doing a service learning project, and Sustainable Berea is one of the clients that the class will have, and we're asking the students to design a database that will keep track of the women that go through the program, and are they successfully employed? Where are they? Are they still sober? Because our goal is that 80% of all the women who go through the program will remain sober after 5 years. And the other database will be for businesses who agree to hire felons or former drug addicts or whatever. So the people that graduate from our class, where are they going to go to find those jobs? So we want to keep a database of all the people who say, yes, we would be willing to hire one of your graduates.
Awesome. We spent a lot of time talking about people partnering with this program. Someone may listen to this and say, well, there's a way I could help out. How could they contact you to help out?
You can contact me at Cheyenne@sustainableberea.org.
So spell all that.
CHEYENNE at sustainableberea, sustainableberea.org.
Good deal.
Yay.
Good deal. Well, Cheyenne, thanks so much for coming into the studio.
That's a pleasure.
And recording this, and hope we get some people to reach out to you, because it is a good program. It's affecting people locally, and it's another way Berea is a model, of how we handling and taking care of things locally here.
There aren't many places that we could pull this off. I don't think Berea is one, because of the strong commitment we have in our community to help each other. It's wonderful.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, thanks so much, and thank you so much for listening. Until next week, bye.
Today is why I stay.